Okay, Andy. Can you hear my voice now? Online students. Okay, look here. Right. Right. So two programs I executed to you. One program, I am calling URL pattern in the address. Anyway, URL pattern in the address. In the second program, I am calling one HTML file actually here. I am calling one HTML file here. HTTP localhost 8082. Some port number followed by servlet application 2, SERVLET, servlet application 2 followed by input.html. You executed in the same format, no? Right. Input. We are calling input.html here. Now the control will go to input.html actually. From that input.html, we had action is equal to one URL pattern is there. Here, the control will go to input.html. The control will come to input.html. When the control comes to input.html, we are submitting the data. Whatever the data we submitted, the data will be available in the request object. That's the imagination. For 2 minutes, I'll draw outline. Already you know that gap came. For 2 minutes, I'll draw outline. So this is one minute only, sorry. So like this, recollect it. Whatever I am asking, you must say now. Now, communicate with the Tomcat server running on port number 8082 followed by servlet application 2 followed by input.html. That's a URL generally. Their HTTP localhost 8082 means identify the Tomcat. So here Tomcat server is on. Imagine it. Tomcat server is on. After Tomcat server has been on, After awning means Tomcat server has been started. After Tomcat server starting has been completed, the servlet app2 is deployed. Deployed means loaded. The servlet application 2 is loaded. When the servlet application 2 is loaded, one object is created. What is the name of this object? What is the name of this object now? Servlet context object. By heart the names. Servlet context object is created. Who creates this object now? Automatically by the web container. It only will create the object automatically. Automatically means we are not involved. That's the meaning of it. This servlet context is loaded with what now? Server information. Loaded with server information. Tomcat name will be loaded. After the servlet context object creation completed, now here the information will be there. Servlet app1 side 1 information is there. What is the information now? Input.html means among this servlet app1 run input.html. That's the meaning. So previous diagram, from servlet app1 run xyz. That's the information here. So based on xyz, one servlet program came directly. That's the diagram. Okay, right. Here from servlet app2 run input.html. So who will come first now? Input.html will come. So input.html will come. Input.html will come. Input.html will come for execution. When this input.html came for execution, now what are the what is the data you are collecting now? This is the name. Name means a parameter. Uname is equal to what you enter here. What you are entering in the text field, that is available on the uname. HTML form, you can imagine it, no? The text field will come. So uname is a variable name. So finally I am writing directly here. So here uname one variable is equal to some Raj. Now here MID variable names, MID is equal to r@gmail.com. Now PH number, these are the names and whatever the variables you give, that names. PH number is equal to 98989898981234. So these are the data. So I am writing the variable names directly. Names I am writing. Here you had one submit. One submit button is there here. One submit button. One submit button is there. One submit button is available here. The submit button is nothing but a display. Display. Whenever I click on display, right, I'll click on this display now. Means the data should be submitted. To whom I should submit the data? Means here I give an information. Action is equal to, I given what now? DIS I given. So submit the data to DIS. That's the concept. DIS is URL pattern. Servlet URL pattern. That's the meaning. Now based on that DIS, among that web application, one servlet program is identified. Right? Okay. This URL patterns can be holded by annotation. This URL patterns can be holded by web.xml. Web.xml means XML file can hold it. Annotation can hold it. This servlet URLs. servlet, servlet URL pattern. Servlet URL pattern is holded by annotation holded by annotation or holded by XML file. XML file in servlet is always web.xml. Web.xml, XML file, annotation or XML file, anyone. Servlet URL pattern is holded by annotation or XML file, anyone, or. Right. In the first two programs, you are using annotation or you are using XML file now? Annotation. What is the annotation name now? At the rate of web servlet. Very easy also here. At the rate of web servlet servlet. We are going to write one slash URL pattern. We are going to write it. So we are mapping with annotation. XML file not entered. XML file still not entered. It's a concept. You can take the support of annotation or you can take the support of XML file. All of you clear about this statement? Right. So first two programs, I am taking the support of annotation. Annotation generally in core Java, we write one small definition about annotations. Annotation means one tag based information added to programming components like class or interface or variable or method. We call it as annotations. How to identify annotation means they are represented with at the rate of symbol generally. So at the rate of web servlet is the annotation related to your servlet program. The point. So finally, see there. Now based on this action equal to DIS, the meaning is submit the form data to servlet program running on URL pattern DIS. That's the meaning. Now your execution controls has to find that servlet program running on DIS. Further process, they take the support of XML or they take the support of annotation. Here XML not there, no? I not used XML. I used annotation. Based on annotation, the servlet program is identified. What is the name of the servlet identified now? Sir, the name of the servlet identified is display servlet. All of you got this point now? Now the display servlet is loaded. Now that display servlet is loaded. From that web application, the display servlet will come out for execution. That's the meaning. Now, when the display servlet came out for execution, the servlet program should be instantiated automatically. Means object must be created automatically. But before creating object, what is the first object created here now? Servlet config object is created. The first object created is servlet config. servlet servlet config is created. 0x some 222. Roughly I'm writing one number. Servlet config is loaded with what information now? Servlet name. Loaded with servlet name. What is the servlet name now? Display servlet. It loads the name. It loads the name. That's the concept. All of you understood up to here? Right. Now, after this servlet config loading has been, object creation completed. Now, your servlet program will be instantiated automatically. Object is created. Automatically, object is created. Now, when the object is created, the 5 methods will come because we are using the first process now. 5 methods will come. init method is executed first. Among that 5 methods, how many are lifecycle methods now? 3. What are they? init, service, and destroy. Which method is executed first now? init. What is the second method executed? Service. What is the third method executed? Destroy. Last two programs, we are not writing any code part of INIT and destroy. So INIT, we are not writing any code. Part of destroy, we are not writing any code. These two methods are dummy methods. So I am not drawing them. INIT executed. Imagine it. No code is there. So I am highlighting which method now? Service method I am highlighting. I am highlighting service method. REQ, RES. Now the service method execution started now. When the service method execution started, service method says that I want two objects as parameter. How many objects as parameter now? Two objects as parameter. What are the two objects now? Servlet request, servlet response. Now which object is created first now? Servlet request is created first. See there. Servlet request object is created. SERVLET, servlet request object is created. When the servlet request object created, the data what is submitted from HTML form, the data will be loaded into request object. All of you understood this point now? Whatever the data you submitted from your HTML form, the data will be available in the request object. See how it is available now? Same. What are the names given here now? Uname. The names what you given in the HTML name, the same names will come. Uname is equal to Raj. What is it, Andy? MID is equal to r@gmail.com. Now ph number is equal to, the data is submitted in the form of string. So phone number will come in the form of string. Understood the statement now? Whatever the data we submitted from HTML form, the data will come in the form of string. All of you understood that statement? Whatever the data you submitted from HTML form, the data is available in the request object. What are the names you took in the HTML form? Same names will come. Same names will come. Once the request object creation completed, it creates what object now? Response object. Servlet response object. Servlet response. SERVLET. Servlet response object is created. 0x555. This is out. This is out. This is out. After these two objects creation completed, now they are passed as parameter to service. The two are passed as parameter to service. Zero x444, 0x555. They are passed as parameter. All of you got this point? Right. After this one, service method execution started now. In the service method, what is there now? Print writer. I given a notes now? Right. res.getWriter method will create object for print writer. Print writer is coming from java.io package. The print writer object internally linked to response object. So finally, you have to imagine one print writer object. All are imaginations only. So the diagram is nothing but when you close your eyes, the diagram should be in the mind. Then only you can write the application. So where they are, what they are, from where you are accessing. If the clarity is there, you can develop your application. So one object we are imagining. res.getWriter is creating one object. Creating one object. 0x666. Now this is linked here, imagination. Why I am asking to imagine the link means, whatever the data you put into print writer, the data will go to response. Because one opening we keep here like a stream. Now this print writer here, I'll write PW directly 0x666 anyway. All of you understood this. After that, set content type anyway. Now set content type means specify what type of data you are going to send through the response. What type of data you are sending to the response. I may send text data or I may send HTML data. That will I recorded in the points also here. Set content type method is available from servlet response, which specify the data, which specify the type of data sending as a response. What you are going to send as a response. All methods I given in the points here. Everything is available actually. When I am drawing the diagram, written in came. Student cannot hear and remember. At least after the class, who read the notes, they will understand. Right? So the notes I written here already directly. What you want to read it. The same thing I am repeating because of 2 days gap. Now finally, set content type over. I introduced one method to you. From here, the data should come here. From this request object, I must read the data to service method. You can say servlet program, reading to servlet program. So what method I am using now? Get parameter. All of you observe this point. So get parameter method is from servlet request and which is used to get the data from servlet request object into servlet program. Clear everyone? Right. So I am using get parameter. See there how I am using get parameter. REQ means I am calling this method with a request object. Get parameter from where now? What is the name here? Uname. Get the value from uname. That's the meaning. Get the value from uname and load it onto uname. Here I given lowercase, here I given uppercase variables. So the data is loaded like this. Uname is equal to the Raj will come by using get parameter method. All of you understood this point now? All of you should remember get parameter method. Okay, right. The same way I am bringing MID is equal to r@gmail.com. Understood? Right. Now when the phone number is coming now, how the phone number came here now? So the phone number is available in the form of string here. You have to convert into long. For that you are using which method now? Long dot parse long req dot get parameter. What is the return type of get parameter method now? Get parameter method return type is string. It takes the string data and give to the parse long. The parse long method will convert that into long data. So finally here ph number is equal to ph number is equal to 9898981234. All of you understood this? Got it? Right. Now the data what is available here, I am putting the data onto print writer. All of you understood, I think. So that only this program. Okay, right. All of you got one imagination. Daily observe the notes, read the notes. Okay, right. When the application deployed into server or web container, what is the first object created? And servlet context object is created. Servlet context object will hold server information. After identifying the servlet program based on URL pattern, after identifying the servlet program based on URL pattern, the URL pattern is holded by annotation or web.xml or XML file. After identifying the servlet program based on URL pattern, the servlet program will be loaded. When the servlet program loaded, automatically servlet config object is created. The servlet config object will get servlet name. Everybody clear? Right. After that, your servlet program will be instantiated. After object creation has been completed for the servlet program, methods will come. You are imagining 5 methods there. Among that 5 methods, 3 are life cycle methods. So automatically init, then service. When the service method comes, it needs 2 parameters, servlet request, servlet response. Now the execution controls has to create object for servlet request, object for servlet response. When the servlet request object created, whatever the data you submitted from HTML form, the data will come and load on to request. The student will ask one question. Sir, how the data will come? They'll ask the question generally. From the web browser, whenever you submit the data, request is HTTP request. HTTP stands for what, Andy? Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Belongs to network. That HTTP will have its own header and body. 2 parts are there. Now it takes the data and keep in that body part. And the request will be going on. That's the concept actually. Wherever it finds the request object, it drops the data there. That's the internal design. All of you got this? Right. The data is dropped into request object. According to servlet programmer, whatever the data submitted from HTML form, the data is available in the request object. Speak to Spring teacher, speak to web service teacher. The data is available in the request object. All of you got this point now? Now to get the data from the request object, you are using which method now? Get parameter method. Here one point to be observed here. What are the names you took in the HTML form? Names, uname, MID. The same names will come to request object. The same names you have to use in the get parameter. If you change the spellings, null values will come. If anybody getting null value, number format exception means the spelling mistakes you done. That's all. So if anybody is getting null value, answer not coming, sir. Number format exception coming means long dot parse long is there, no? Because of that line, number format exception will come. The reason you not properly took that variables, your coding problem, you not properly seen the code, you not properly typed it. If you type the code properly, null pointer, sorry, number format exception will not come and null values will not come because you have to take that variables correctly. Everybody clear about this statement? Okay. Now this is the information for you. Now the servlet URL pattern is holded by annotation or XML. I'll introduce XML. Okay, right. What is today's class is? Look here. Do you remember servlet API? I'll add this diagram down. Execution flow of servlet application to, I'll add the diagram there. After that, I'll write the note there because anyway, I drawn the diagram, no? Right. All of you got the imagination about the objects? Right. Draw on the paper, practice it. If not, you say to somebody, you'll get a knowledge. So, servlet context, servlet config, request, response. On demand, you go for print writer. These only objects majorly. Okay, right. Now, servlet API. So, who is the root of servlet API? Java X dot servlet dot servlet is the root. Now, I am creating object using Java X dot servlet dot servlet. Have you observed? Right. So, first 2 programs I concentrated on creating object like this. Servlet API, hierarchy. See there. In the process of constructing servlet programs, the user defined class must be implemented from servlet or extended from generic servlet or extended from HTTP servlet. Among that, who is the interface now? Servlet is the interface. Remaining two are abstract classes. Clear about this point, right? Now, if you see this diagram here, your serializable linked to generic servlet. Your serializable not linked to servlet. Understood this point now, right? I drawn one diagram here. This is a diagram. There are three ways to create object. Now, whenever you take, this is the two programs you written now. Now, constructing servlet program using Java x.servlet.servlet is not preferable. The statement I am making today, constructing servlet programs using Java x.servlet.servlet is not preferable because the object is non-serializable object. Whatever the object you are getting, that object is what now? Non-serializable object. Serializable means converting into zeros and ones. Serializable in core Java, some people covered, some people not covered. Serializable java.io.serializable, one interface. What is the specialty of this interface is nothing but whenever we have one object, this object came from one class. This object came from one class. Now, if the class is linked to serializable interface, the object is serializable object. Serializable object means you can make that object available in the form of 0 and 1. Means available in the form of stream. That's the concept. What is the advantage of making one object available in the form of stream? When we have object available in the form of stream, we can send on the network. We can send on the network. If you don't make your object available in the form of stream, you cannot send on the network. Means the objects which are created from case 1, non-serializable objects, and they are not preferable to send on the network environment. Because of this reason, this model we never use it. But in the training sessions, we trainers will write 1 or 2 programs based on that. Why we write it means you have a scope of writing this way also. You have scope of writing case 2. You have scope of writing case 3. 3 options are available. We show to the student in training process. Ultimately, we are using case 3. That is different issue. But remaining 3 also, remaining 2 also, possibility is there. Student should know for the interview. Can I make a statement now? Right, make it. Today's statement is note. Constructing servlet programs using Java x.servlet.servlet servlet interface is not preferable. Not preferable. Because the objects are not serializable objects. Not serializable objects. Not serializable objects. Not serializable objects and cannot travel on network. Cannot travel on network. cannot travel on network. Serializable is there means your object will move on the network. Remember this statement, direct information to all, nothing hiding here. If a class is implemented from serializable, the class object will become serializable object. The object can travel on the network. Everybody knows cookie. Yes or no, Andy? You know the cookie word, you know no already? Yes or no, Andy? The cookie word is a popular in the internet world. www.gmail.com is working on cookie session track. www.gmail.com is working on cookie session track. Java P, Java X. Now, where is this? Java X dot servlet dot HTTP dot cookie. Cookie belongs to our technology, servlet. www.gmail.com uses cookie session track based on servlet. Cookie, see there, you can see here. Implements from, lastly you see, serializable. Can you see? Whenever the class is implemented from serializable, the cookie object is serializable because it is moving on the network. We don't know where is Gmail server is available in the world, but your account is available in that server. Open your mobile phone and type it www.gmail.com and put your account name, username, password. You are connected. Whenever you connected, one cookie will travel and sit on your web browser. Because of this reason, next time onwards, very fastly your Gmail is connected. Even your website is then your Naresh IT Batches website. That's a cookie session track. So one cookie, it will come on, one message will come in the mobile phone. Do you want to accept the cookie? If you say okay, one icon will be created. It come and sit in your mobile phone web browser. That's called cookie. Means cookie created in the server actually. Cookie is created in the server. From that server, it travels to web browser. Whenever it travels to web browser, it is using a network. On the network, object should be moved. Understood? Object cannot move. 0 and 1 should be moved. Because it's a digital network now. So because of this reason, our object flavor should be available in the form of stream. For that, serializable is used. All of you got this point? Right. For the first object creation, it is not serializable because I am linking my user defined class implements from Java X dot servlet. Their serializable link is not there. Whatever the objects I am getting, they are non-serializable objects. They cannot travel on the network. All of you understood? This is an entire question. Okay, right? Can we create object using, can we construct a servlet program using Java X dot servlet? Answer is yes. Then why we are not using in the real time? We never use in the real time. This is the reason you have to speak it. If you want to speak that, you must know the hierarchy, no? That serializable is not linked to Java X dot servlet not linked. If it is not linked, object is non-serializable. It cannot travel on the network. That point you have to speak in the interview. The disadvantage of above case 1 can be overcome by HTTP servlet and generic servlet. That's the concept. They given two options to you. One is generic servlet. one is HTTP servlet. You can see on the road, sometimes they write medical shops, generic medicine. Generic type is there no for us. Collection framework. Generic type T, V, K, U, generic type. Generic type means what? Ready to accept any type. That's a concept. If I write generic type collection, generic type only no. Generic means I can accept any type actually. Java P, Java dot, util dot, collection. Collection is one interface. Can you see E here? E is what type now? Generic type. Whenever the E is there, E can be replaced with integer. E can be replaced with a string. E can be replaced with any user defined class. So E is a generic format. That's the concept. E, T, U, K, V, they are all generic formats. Generic means I can accept any type. Got this point? Generic servlet means protocol independent. Understood this statement now? Generic servlet means protocol dependent or protocol independent. Protocol independent. I will accept the request from any protocol in the network. Understood this statement now? That's called generic servlet. No, sir. I want to construct my servlet program only protocol dependent. I want to construct my servlet program only protocol dependent. That only HTTP servlet means I will work for HTTP protocol. Understood this point now? HTTP servlet means I am a protocol dependent. I will work and take the request from the HTTP protocol. Understood this point now? So generic servlet means I can take the request from any protocol. I am a protocol independent. That's called generic servlet. HTTP servlet means I will take the request from HTTP protocol. Everybody knows web browser address bar by default uses HTTP protocol. Because of this reason, we programmers by default using HTTP servlet. Because web browser is protocol dependent. No? Web browser is protocol dependent. So we are using protocol dependent servlet construction. Not only HTTP servlet. All of you got this idea now? See there. First time speaking generally what to be remembered for the interview first. How many options are there? 3 options I given already. You can construct the servlet program using servlet interface. You can construct the program using generic servlet abstract class. You can construct the program using HTTP servlet abstract class. The objects generated from generic servlet, the objects generated from HTTP servlet are serializable objects. They are serializable objects. How, sir? Because the generic servlet is implemented from, can you see the hierarchy? Generic servlet, why I drawn this hierarchy mean to say this point. Now the generic servlet is implemented from serializable. The object coming from the generic servlet is nothing but serializable object. All of you got this point now? Now generic servlet is the parent of HTTP servlet. The objects coming from HTTP servlet are serializable because anyway here already parent is there now. So it is serializable object. The 2 objects are serializable objects, but the object coming from your servlet is non-serializable, not preferable. All of you got this point? Right, make it. The notes. All of you can speak these points. The limitation of SERVLET servlet interface can be overcome using generic SERVLET, generic servlet and HTTP servlet. Generic servlet and HTTP servlet. Limitation meaning is nothing but here not serializable is there, no, it is not. This the limitation of servlet interface can be overcome using generic servlet and HTTP servlet. The objects generated from generic servlet and HTTP servlet are serializable objects. Why I am highlighting serializable means, look here. Why I am highlighting serializable means, you've seen the hierarchy in the JDBC. I am repeating for the second time. I shown the hierarchy in the JDBC I drawn. In that hierarchy in the JDBC, serializable not there. Observe it. You can search and come in the JDBC, serializable will not be there. Search in the total API. Java.SQL search the API, serializable interface will not be there. Not there. Means what? The objects generated from JDBC are non-serializable objects. They cannot travel on the network. Understood this point now? Whenever I want to move the result set object, it cannot move. Because of this reason, we developers will create one object. We take the data from the result set and we keep in the object. Understood? That object is bean object, Pojo object, Spring Bean. That only concept. That only concept actually. If we do manual, I am going to do manual in the servlet because I am a manual trainer now. After me only framework will come. After me only framework will come. I am a manual trainer. Because for me automated not there. After me automated will come. ORM. Object relation mapping. Automatically objects will come. Understood this point now? To highlight that point only, whenever I want to introduce bean object, within 2 days, the bean object is coming. Whenever I want to introduce bean object, definitely I must show that JDBC is non-serializable. Before speaking that point, students should know, leaving servlet because of non-serializable, I am entering into serializable objects. That's the introduction going on. Make it. The objects generated from generic servlet and HTTP servlet. Generic servlet and HTTP servlet. The objects generated from generic servlet and HTTP servlet are serializable. Serializable objects. Objects generated from generic servlet and HTTP servlet are serializable objects because generic servlet is implemented from java.io.serializable because generic servlet is implemented from java.io.serializable interface. Well, if we got this point right, now I will write few programs on generic servlet. Okay, right. After a few programs, I'll write HTTP servlet. So here only one statement you have to write it for reading purpose. Generic servlet is protocol independent. Protocol independent. HTTP servlet is protocol dependent, protocol independent and protocol dependent. Right. Some programs we write using generic servlet, we write. Okay, right. Now make a heading, nothing but case 2. Constructing servlet programs using generic SERVLET. Constructing servlet programs using generic servlet. Some programs, 1 or 2 programs we are constructing. The behavior same and the context, config, request, response, that all will be same. Only implementation extent, that mode is remaining all behavior same only. Servlet programming should be fingertips actually. Then only you can dominate Spring and web service. The two will be easy if you know all the things from servlet. Small things also you have to read it from servlet. Many people will say servlet is outdated generally. Many people will say that also. Yes or no? Anybody saying in the market? Nobody is saying. If nobody is saying, well and good. Because servlet not there, no sir. All Spring and Hibernate no sir. All engineers, doctors only. But LKG is there now. LKG, UKG schools are available. Not all engineering colleges and medical colleges. Schools also open now. Why schools are open? If all are doctors and engineers, why schools are open? So definitely basics are available there. Same. Core and advanced will provide a basics. So if we catch these few things here, it will make you to travel bit easily in the Spring and web service. That's the point. Now constructing servlet programs using generic servlet. Generic servlet is an interface, abstract class. What is the specialty of abstract class? Abstract class can hold both abstract methods and concrete methods. We are looking for how many life cycle methods now? 3. What are they? INIT, service, destroy. Now let us look into these 3 methods into generic servlet. They are available or not. Because the 3 methods only important to us. But let us look. Remaining all manual calling. Remaining all methods, if you want, you can call them. But 3 automated methods are INIT, service, and destroy. Do post, do get will not come. HTTP servlet. You've seen that do post, do get in your materials. Generally, the students will see that. Do post, do get will belong to which servlet now? HTTP servlet. They will not come now only. So when you are in the generic servlet and normal servlet, you will be available with INIT, service, and destroy. Okay. So today I am trying to construct one servlet program by taking the support of one generic servlet. Generic servlet, abstract class. Abstract class. This abstract class is linked to one servlet program. It is linked with the implements keyword, extends keyword. Extends keyword. Any doubt? Extends. See there. Let me open that generic servlet once. generic SERVLET. This is one abstract class now. This abstract class is having one method known as INIT. Where is that INIT? Can you see INIT? INIT is abstract method or concrete method? Abstract keyword not there now, right? I will write here. INIT service destroy. So among this, which one is abstract means service is abstract method. Remaining two methods are concrete methods. Concrete method. What is the meaning of concrete method? Method with method body. Sir, what method body means? Empty body will be there. Code not there. They given empty body. Why means whenever I want to write whenever it is extended here, I must construct the body for whom now? I must construct the body for whom now? Service. It is mandatory to construct the body for service. I'll construct the body for service. Remaining two not mandatory. If you want, you can override them. You can take the method, construct the body and override the empty body. Remaining two are optional methods. Service is the mandatory method. See that all are concrete methods except one method, service. Can you see service? This only abstract, remaining all concretes. Understood this point? If I use Java x.servlet.servlet, it is forcing me to construct 5 method bodies. Understood or not now? Here it is forcing me to construct only one body, that is service. Remaining two methods are optional methods. Optional methods means if you want, construct the body for INIT. If you don't want, no need to construct the body for INIT. Empty body will be running. Then no code will be there. Make a statement. Note. In generic servlet, service method is the abstract method and remaining methods are concrete methods. Generic servlet, in generic servlet, service method is the abstract method and remaining methods are concrete methods. Which means we have to construct the body for service method and remaining methods are optional methods. If you want, you can use them. Remaining methods are optional methods. Remaining methods are optional methods. So there. Okay, right. I'll attach the diagram there for notes purpose. That's all. Now I must write one program in the generic servlet. Already understood. If I write HTML form, repeated will be there. Already understood the concept, no? HTML form you are submitting the data available in the request. You are collecting data from the request by using get parameter. All of it, observe that point, no? Right. Now I am introducing one more point. Request dispatcher. I am bringing one interface known as request dispatcher. I am introducing. From there, I am introducing servlet communication. After explaining the servlet communication with the generic servlet, then I'll bring my beans and attributes. I'll bring it. After that, servlet context, servlet config, I'll explain. Then I'll bring DAO layer, database connection. I'll make it. That's the plan. Okay, right. Make it. Star mark IMP. SERV. No. Request dispatcher. Request dispatcher. Request dispatcher. Star mark IMP. Request dispatcher. The name only saying, no. What is the meaning of dispatcher? Dispatcher means dispatcher only, sir. Sending, no. Sending to some other. What you are sending now? Request. One servlet program will send a request to another servlet. That's called request dispatcher. So I want to know what it is. See there, I am opening Java X dot servlet dot request dispatcher. So request dispatcher is one interface. Can you see here? So request dispatcher is an interface from Java X dot servlet package, and which provides the following two methods. One is forward, one is include, to establish communication between servlets. To establish communication between servlets. Make a statement. Request dispatcher is an interface from Java X dot servlet package, and which provides the following methods to establish communication between servlet programs. Request dispatcher is an interface from Java X dot servlet package, and which provides the following methods to establish communication between servlet programs. One method is forward, one method is include. One method is forward, one method is include. Forward and include. There are two methods available in request dispatcher. One is forward, one is include. Using these two methods, we are going to establish communication between servlets. That's the meaning. All have understood this point, right? Now, if I want to use these methods, I have to create implementation object of request dispatcher. If I create object only, I can use the methods because the methods are non-static. See there. Public, abstract, void, forward, public, abstract, void, include. If I want to use this method, I must create object for that request dispatcher. Request dispatcher is the interface, direct object not there. I have to create through implementation. If I want to create through implementation, they'll provide a method to me. Through method only I can create it. So we are going to use which method, sir? Means get request dispatcher. One method is there from servlet request. Servlet request. SERVLET. Servlet request. In the servlet request, we had a method known as what now? Get request dispatcher. Using this method, we are going to create object for request dispatcher. Make a statement. We use get request dispatcher method. We use get request dispatcher method from servlet request interface. We use get request dispatcher method from servlet request interface to create the implementation object of. We use get request dispatcher method from servlet request interface to create the implementation object of request dispatcher interface. We use get request dispatcher method from servlet request interface to create the implementation object of request dispatcher interface. Whenever I want to use that method, get request dispatcher method, I must know the method signature of get request dispatcher. Make it. Method signature of get request dispatcher. Method signature of get request dispatcher. Method signature of get request dispatcher. Now, in what form it is available there? See there. So public abstract Java X dot servlet dot request dispatcher. Get request dispatcher of Java dot lang dot string. Make it public abstract Java X dot servlet dot request dispatcher get servlet get request dispatcher of Java dot lang dot string. Now this get request dispatcher method will create implementation of request dispatcher. So theory. The method is static method or non-static method. You have to access with class name or object name. Object name. So get request dispatcher method available from servlet request. What is the object name of servlet request now? REQ dot get request dispatcher. Now look here. Now it is with parameter, without parameter, with parameter. What kind of parameter now? String. Sir, what I am going to pass there? One servlet want to send a communication to another servlet. Servlets are identified by the URLs, URL patterns, right? You must give that URL pattern. You are sending the request to which servlet program, that URL pattern you have to pass it. That's the concept. No, sir, my servlet is trying to communicate with the JSP. Give the JSP file name. My servlet is trying to communicate with HTML. Give the HTML file name. Your servlet can communicate with another servlet. Your servlet can communicate with JSP. Your servlet can communicate with HTML. That information should be given in the request dispatcher. Now this get request dispatcher will create object. In that object, the information is recorded. You are going to communicate with whom that information is recorded, and the reference will come and load onto LHS. What is LHS now? This is return type or non-return type? Return type. So request dispatcher RD is equal to REQ dot get request dispatcher. Now you can use forward method, you can use include method. RD dot forward, RD dot include. Using forward, what you are going to do, using include, what you are going to do, the notes will be continued by tomorrow. And based on this request dispatcher, based on this forward and include, tomorrow, 2 servlets will come. Up to now, your assignment is 1 servlet only. First 2 programs, single servlet. 2 assignments, one is product, one is book. The 2 servlets also single servlet only. So tomorrow I am introducing more than 1 servlet I am introducing. And the 2 servlets I am going to link with the forward and include. Tomorrow's class is crucial. Okay, right. Take a break, read the notes and come.